Manchester City 2, Arsenal 0. I'm not even trying to be objective today. I'll be so real. Hold that. To every Arsenal fan, hold that. This is what you deserve. This is the wake-up call that you needed, okay? I know all season, you felt that the world was against you. You felt that there were a lot of narratives against you. But the proof's in the pudding. Final, when it matters most, nobody turned up.
You know what's so funny is that Liban's hate for Arsenal is so bad. You didn't even introduce me. You just went straight in.
Do you know what it is? Oh, I'm sorry, I do apologize. Guys, I do have Mina next to me. You're right.
You went straight in.
I was ready. But yes, I have the wonderful Mina next to me as well. Mina, what's your thoughts on the game before I go into a whole tangent?
You know what? I think for the first... Okay, we have to talk about Kepa, yeah? That's my starting point because I think back to a lot of teams do this thing, right, where they have a cup goalkeeper in comparison to their normal number one. City did it with Trafford as well. We did it with Sergio Romero in Europa League, and it pays off. It pays off most of the time. I think today, coming into the game, I don't think Kepa should have started. Yeah, because I think I feel like this game could be the beginning of something, and you don't want that to be the case. You want to be in control of all your cards. So I would have gone with David Raya in goal, especially from that minute when he came running out of goal and nearly rugby tackled Doku. And I thought, okay, this guy's got a blunder in him. I think, and also it's Kepa at Wembley. The Kepa curse at Wembley is real. Chelsea fans know about that. But that was the main thing that stood out to me because once that goal happened, once that Nico O'Reilly got his first goal, I think that's where you see the difference between Arsenal and Manchester City in a cup final. Because Arsenal, I felt like shoulders drop, heads drop. It's suddenly like it's a mountain to climb. It's only 1-0. Yeah, it's only 1-0 at that point, and I think a lot of other teams that maybe have more recent experience in cup finals, with an 11 or a squad that have had that experience together in the pinnacle moments, I think they wouldn't have reacted like that. I think it was quite, I don't want to say a catastrophe, but the way that they reacted, it was like suddenly like it was the 1-0 was 3-0.
Yes.
And there's no coming back from it. And then City just pumped up the press. That second half performance from Manchester City, I was saying in my reaction video, it reminds me of the Redeem team. If you watch a documentary on Netflix, you know when Kobe Bryant, when they said, Kobe said he's going to just come out and bam,
who's Kobe for you?
Huh? No, that was Manchester City. Like they came out second half, bam.
But who do you feel like was the Kobe in that team?
In that team, I think it was Rodri.
100%.
I think Rodri absolutely. He's showing why he's the Ballon d'Or winner. In that midfield of other midfielders there.
I thought he was flawless today.
I think he stepped up. One player that really stood out to me, and I actually like Kusanov a lot, but Nathan Ake was really good because the first couple of minutes I thought, are Arsenal going to like target? You know they tried to play Gyökeres a lot into the wide channels to try get him out wide. Gyökeres ain't a dribbling kind of striker, so I don't know why.
The early challenge worried me though.
Exactly.
The early yellow card.
The early yellow card, but the ref I don't know what he was doing. But Gyökeres going out in the wide channels, I think the two battles when it's Kusanov on one side and Ake, I thought maybe Arsenal will target him more on Ake's side. Yeah. Because then if he's able to stretch the back line out wide, if Bukayo Saka turns up, he can drift into those spaces that he vacates. But they didn't. They were targeting the side of Kusanov, and Kusanov is quicker than you.
He's rapid.
He might not be as big as you, but he's stronger than you. Yeah. And essentially, you're not going to be able to lay a glove. So I just think tactically, it was essentially boys versus men, and not in the way that I've seen in the past. Because I've seen in the past Arsenal flip it on City.
Yes.
But when it counts in a cup final, and I feel like there was more hype coming into the game on Arsenal's end, promo videos, all of that, because it's a League Cup final. It is a big deal given where you've started from with Arteta to where you are now. I've said though, I still expect them to go on to win the league. I would be very it has to be some madness that happens where they drop 9 9 points there ahead.
I think today's game has a big psychological effect on both teams. I think it gives City the confidence they need 100%. I think they're going to look at this game and this might be the kick that they needed to kind of kick on. Obviously they got out of the Champions League, so today was kind of like they had something to prove today, and you saw that with the performance. Everyone turned up. Rodri turned up, Semenyo turned up. Cherki for me was unbelievable, unplayable, even to the point where everything he does was just it was entertainment at one point, even doing kick-ups on the pitch. Nico O'Reilly pulling up with goals. I thought Ake was superb coming in today because obviously Ruben Dias was meant to start. I mean, the whole team, for me, especially in that second half, showed why, this is a team that has been successful over the last God knows how many years. He's showed that, when it comes to the big moments, the big trophies, his record at Wembley, You know, how many trophies is that? No, that's just their ninth EFL trophy. That's what, how many appearances?
I think it's actually Pep's got the most League Cups now.
Yeah,
he's got the most League Cups.
Even with Wembley appearances, I think he's holding the record now with most Wembley appearances. I might be wrong, but I
think he does as a manager.
As a manager,
yeah,
so
as a manager.
we're talking about a manager that has credibility. You know, they got history, and I always say, you know, the teams that have the heritage, teams that have the know-how, usually are the teams that come out on top. You know, not always, not all the time, but today was an example of that. Going into this game, obviously, like you said, that everybody was kind of on the wave of Arsenal are the favourites going into this tie. You know, City on a run of poor form. They just got knocked out heavily against a poor Real Madrid side this season that nobody expected. An average one this season. You know, and obviously going into this game, a lot of people would have had, especially Arsenal fans, you know, they were confident going into this game. But I always say, these are the moments that matter the most. You know, it's when the lights are bright, can you deliver? And again, Arsenal showed exactly why people doubt them. They showed exactly why people have these narratives against them. You know, Arsenal fans, you know, all season have been on this defensive mode, you know, almost like, you know, you can't criticize them.
Okay.
Just because of the fact they're on the top of the table and they top the group stage in the Champions League, they feel like they're immune to criticism. Even when you know, criticize the way they play their football. Yes, you know, they've been consistent. Yes, you know, we've given them praise where they, you know, where praise is due. But I feel like with Arsenal fans, it's not praise anymore that they want. They want glaze, and they want us to back their stupidity. They want us to back their delusional statements. You know, things like Arteta is the best manager in world football. Things like they have, you know, the best squad in world football. Saka's on Lamine Yamal's level. You hear these type of statements that come out when they don't have anything to show for it. And that's always been my issue with Arsenal Football Club, is that they never have anything to back up what they believe to be. You know, and I feel like, yes, you could be inform-wise, yes, this season, you're definitely one of the, if not the best team. But then that doesn't matter. You know, what matters is from now to the end of the season, when it gets to crunch time, when it gets to finals, when it gets to semi-finals, when it gets to the crunch time at the end of the season, that's when it matters. Even this 9-point gap that they have with City, it's not a stable 9 points, but they behave like it's a stable 9 points.
It's not a stable 9 points, but I think the league is different to a cup final. And that's where I think that's where the difference between City and Arsenal were today. I could imagine Arsenal right now in the form that they are in the league, doing it over a longer course of games rather than City. Just because I think, and I've said this so many times, in the league, I think the City that everybody holds on to is not the same City that we're seeing this season, right?
For sure.
So that's why I kind of believe that league gap, it could go down to 5, it could go down to 4. But I think a big game is going to be that one at the Etihad next month, I think it is.
Okay. No, I do agree. Like right now, also you could say they have one hand on the trophy because it's in their hands, right? And
it's theirs to lose.
And City have shown that they can be inconsistent. But at the same time, I wouldn't put it past Arsenal, even at home against Bournemouth, at home against Fulham. There's nothing that doesn't, you know, absolutely nullify those doubts, those thoughts, those narratives. Do you know what I mean? It can always happen, but
you know what I would say just to counter that? I think because Arsenal under Arteta are such a pragmatic, defensive, boring team to watch, that I could imagine them doing it against Fulham and doing it against Bournemouth and maybe up against City. I think City will be the team up for it, and they're essentially going to be the team that's parks the bus and just see the result out, because at that point they've got more to lose. And I think in today's performance, you saw spans of the game, especially in the first half. I felt like Arsenal are getting up the pitch, but then they get into that final third and there's suddenly restrictions. It's like, what do we do with the ball? Now we're in threatening zones. And, you know, I would actually go as far to say that Kepa error, the goal error, right? I think it did so much harm to Arsenal, because I think they would have been happy to go and play the 90 minutes and play the 120 minutes and go to penalties. I genuinely think that. And they defended very well in that first goal. They were defending, like City had no answer for them, because you saw Haaland up against Saliba, up against Gabriel. He didn't get a sniff of the ball. And, you know, we've talked about, you know, how Haaland is in the box in terms of his movement, but they're going to him a lot back post, and Saliba's dealing with it, Gabriel's dealing with it. It's not a problem. That final third, that dangerous threat for Manchester City, I think Kepa gifted it to them. Honestly speaking.
Actually, I'll be honest with you. When I saw Kepa on the lineup, we knew yesterday that he was going to start. When I knew he was going to start, wallahi, it gave me hope. Genuinely, because I think Raya has been exceptional this season. I think him and Donnarumma have been the top 2 keepers. But I look at Trafford, I look at Kepa. Kepa's more error-prone. We've known Kepa. We've seen him for years. We've seen the errors he's made for Chelsea. There's a reason why, Chelsea loaned him out a couple of times. There's a reason why, Arsenal were only able to buy him for 5 million. I think Kepa, like you said, he's got that blunder in his game, for sure. But on top of that, also, I feel like cup final is different to a league game.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal are more suited to a league game because, for example, when I felt that if they go to the Etihad this season, they're more likely to get a result there because you can go for the pragmatic.
You can go for the draw.
And you can go for the draw.
Yeah.
In a cup final, you are forced to go at the other team. You have to go at it because you have to win the game, essentially, right? And I think once Arsenal start to, attack, I feel like that's where the spaces start to open up. Man City, when you have players like Cherki, Semenyo, Doku, who operate in spaces, they're allowed to then thrive. And I think first half also did well to kind of contain that. I felt like those first early chances, had they scored that, I think it would have been a completely different game. I think if Saka haven't scored that early chance, I think we're watching a completely different football match. But they never got that. And I think City grew into the game. Arsenal sort of faded out of the game. And you saw that in that second half performance. Look, we're talking about players like Declan Rice, right? Who's been shouted about. There's been that whole debate about whether he should be PFA Player of the Year award. You got Saka, who's meant to be the star player. You got Gyökeres, who's the record. Not record, but they signed him for big money this summer. You got a lot of players who simply didn't turn up today.
You can say that they didn't turn up, but I also think Arteta didn't tactically.
Yeah, tactically, both sides.
If you watch City this season, even like with, I don't want to make it about United, but Carrick showed everyone how to beat City this season. And it wasn't a fluke in the way that United beat City. They absolutely bopped them off the field. Yeah. Let them have some of the ball, invite them in, which Arsenal did. Yeah. And once you get the ball, bam, hit them in transition. Arsenal didn't do that because even when in the middle third, when they had the ball and it's falling to Declan Rice, it's falling to Zubimendi, they're giving it away. Yeah. It's like City have been here before. They say act like you've been here before. They say act like you've been here before. Some of these players haven't. Yeah. So in that moment, cup final at Wembley, they're thinking, okay, cool. I just need to get the ball out of my feet. Yeah. I need to, as far Arsenal, there was a moment they were in transition and I'm watching the screen and it's Declan Rice running with the ball. I'm thinking, he ain't going to find his man because I know that's not what he does in transition. Yeah. He literally, I think he found Bukayo Saka, who eventually the transition slowed down, Kusanov blasting through the middle. Yeah. And essentially the transition died. Because against City, and it's not just United that's shown, so many teams have shown it this season. Yeah. If you hit them in transition and you're clinical and you punish them, they will crumble. Yeah. It's inevitable. Yeah. But you can't give them too much respect this season.
Enough teams haven't done that to them this season. I genuinely believe a lot of teams have played against Arsenal with fear. Naturally with fear, especially when the first set piece comes or the first corner comes there. You can sense teams. I look at Leeds' prime example, like they were like trembling when Arsenal were getting corners, and that's how they conceded as early goals. I feel like with Arsenal, yes, they're a well-drilled team, they're physical, they're very, good on the set pieces defensively and offensively. But let's be honest as well, open play, their attack. And we've been saying that, look, this is what I'm saying. Arsenal fans have been sort of trying to reject that sort of narrative. The
conversation about
they're saying,
open play.
If you come at us, trust me, come at us and we'll show you that we can play good football. Today, City came at you. City came at you today and you didn't show nothing back. And I genuinely believe it's because of the quality in attack. You got Gyökeres, you got Saka, you got Trossard on the offside. All three of them, you could argue has stinkers.
But then my question to Arsenal fans is, what has happened to these players then? Are you telling me Arteta has essentially taken out all creative element and free-flowing football from these players? Because Bukayo Saka, I'll say one thing is that he's been underwhelming this season, right? But he's struggled with injury. He's not the man that you've expected him to be.
He's been burnt out for a while.
Yeah, he's been burnt out, and I kind of understand that. But then I'm looking at the other players in your team, and I'm thinking they got to carry some weight. Yeah. Trossard, who started the season very well today, horrid. Yeah. He started the season very well. Today, he was so poor, but I think it's cowardly from Arteta to let him stay on the pitch until the 82nd minute.
Mina, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think Arsenal's attack's world class?
Do I think they're world class?
That's just like, front line. You look at the front line. Is it world class?
It gets the job done.
Okay.
So is that world class? Because world class right now, the word of world class. Yeah. Is
that a Champions League winning attack?
On any day, it could. It just depends the day. It just depends. I genuinely think it just depends on the day. I look at you, and I don't want to compare to United. Well, I look at our attack, and I think our attack is clear. No, but a lot of the attacks in the Premier League, and not just the Premier League. If we look at the Champions League knockout stages now, yeah, and you look at all the teams there, I would say Arsenal have one of the less entertaining attacks out of all the teams there, because you look at Real Madrid, you look at Bayern, you look at PSG, you look at Atletico, you look at Barcelona. You got, give me the ball and I'm going to do something, players. And you like to watch that kind of stuff. So that's why everybody thinks, oh, yeah, okay, Lamin's going to get me out of my feet. Elise is going to, have me clapping. Yeah, but Ademola Lookman at Atletico, great player to watch because it's free-flowing football. You got a problem on the pitch, you're going to solve it. I feel like Arsenal look to Arteta for the players look to Arteta for the solutions. But that's because but I think it's because of him. I think it's because of the manager. I don't think it's down to the players personally, because I think those players are quality. I think some of them players are good quality players that can get the job done.
I think
but
outside
today,
of Saka, I don't think there is. I genuinely, and I'm not even saying that on I'm not trolling, I'm not trying to be hateful, I'm not trying to I genuinely believe outside of Saka, you're looking at average players that have certain traits that are useful in moments, like Martinelli off the bench with his speed,
it's useful in moments.
Trossard can pull up with a goal.
But
Gyökeres, high line, he might be useful,
But that's what I'm saying. Useful in moments. It's the manager's responsibility to platform those attributes. Why are you Trossard, a front line of Trossard, Gyökeres, and Saka? Yeah. Why are you playing balls in behind for Gyökeres to run in the wide channels? Yeah. And nobody is kind of drifting in centrally. Yeah. To kind of like to support the space that he's vacated.
But it's been like that all season.
Why are you getting Gyökeres to run the wide channels? Yeah. Because his better performances that I've seen for Arsenal this season, he hasn't essentially been doing that throughout 90 minutes. Yeah. I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like when I watch Arsenal, especially like the players under Arteta, I think it's the manager's responsibility to platform that. Do you know what I think was cowardly as well today? You're throwing on Jesus in the last 10 minutes. You got nothing to lose at that point. Just throw on Max Dowman. Max Dowman.
You know what's sad about Arsenal, yeah? That if you actually look at their team today, and you look at the amount of players that we're told or we think that are top players, the only player that I felt came on or actually had an impact, or you could say, okay, he's making something happen here, is Calafiori off the bench.
I think Madueke
I think it was awful when he came on. I'll be so real with you. Every touch was just...
The only reason why I think Noni Madueke actually tried to do something is because he was getting at Nico O'Reilly, trying to get, you're a winger. I don't want to see you cut in and trying to play the pass to your midfielder, hit the line, try to play a ball across. He was doing that. It's just his final product. It's not the best. Yeah. But you can see he was someone that was trying to get into threatening spaces with the ball rather than getting up to City's third and then recycling it and going back again. Yeah. And then that's why I gotta respect that.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because I don't want to make it seem like I'm pulling this game out of isolation, because I genuinely do see, and I saw things today, from Arsenal that I've been seeing. Yeah, you've been seeing. Yeah. I've been seeing all season, 100%. And when you call it out, bro, it's almost like you get attacked because you're either hating, or you're not being fair, or they almost feel like like I said earlier, they feel like they're immune to the criticism. Just because you're at the top of the table, just because you're doing well, that you're not allowed to say anything negative about the club. Even though we still praise them, I've sat down on the podcast and said many times, Arsenal are the best team currently. Because that's the form shows it, the table shows it. They are the best, but. I think with them, they wanted to take it to a further level of, putting them on the pedestal of like the PSGs and the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas, whatever. But when they really haven't done anything, you're good this season. I don't even feel like Liverpool last season, who had the league wrapped up by this time, were, acting the way they're acting this season. And that's my issue with the club. But even going into the game, you got Cherki, for example, and Semenyo, two players for me who, it's their first final at the club. Yeah. And they played like, they've been there.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is act like you've been here before. Yeah. Because City have been there before. I think it's easier for Cherki and Semenyo to be infected by the winning mentality in a cup final from other Man City players. Whereas with Arsenal, I think because, I actually think a lot of Arsenal's issues on the pitch, I think it's in their head.
100%.
I think
it's a mental game.
It's a mental game. It's like I said, when they go a goal down, it's like, shoulders drop. Suddenly it's like, we can't come back from this because we haven't been in this situation in recent times. City have. Yeah. If City were to go a goal down, I'd be more inclined to believe that they can maybe get a goal back than on the flip side if it was Arsenal. Yeah. So I would say though you are treating this criticism of Arsenal in a little bit in isolation. I think it's quite heavy on the cup final
because it's a cup final. I mean, this is remember we're talking about a team
when United won it, everyone was saying it's irrelevant. Yeah, but everyone was saying it's an irrelevant cup.
Do you know what it is though? And Arsenal fans, I promise you right now, already starting to dismiss the Carabao Cup. But my thing is, this is their first final in 6 years, right? This is their first final. This is where you want to get over that hoodoo of we haven't won a trophy, and this is what really makes you from a good team to a proper world-class team that that everybody respects. Now that narrative is going to continue now until you eventually lift something, whether that's Champions League, Premier League, or whatever. That narrative is going to continue until you prove us otherwise. And for me, I look at their star players, right? And I look at Man City star players. You can afford to have one or two players out of it. Or, like you said, mentally, maybe they're not there. Maybe the occasion's getting to them. But you can't have 8, 9 players
let me ask you then,
the occasion. It just doesn't work.
In the Arsenal 11 today, starting 11, who would you have expected to be that kind of pioneer? The
PFA player of the year, apparently. That's right. No, but this is what we're dealing with, though. They were, this discussion again of Arsenal fans feeling offended that we're pushing Bruno for the PFA Player of the Year. You saw the talk all week on social media, in the media. Arsenal fans defending Declan Rice and saying why he should be the Player of the Year. Then I didn't see the Player of the Year today. I saw a guy that was drowning. Was simply drowning. You got Bukayo Saka, who's meant to be the poster child of the club.
No, but the thing is, I think maybe I'm just a lenient fan. Maybe I'm a lenient fan. Because I look at Bukayo Saka this season and I cannot understand that dip in form because he's been so consistent over the number of years. No, but it's tough because I haven't seen him. Like, if you said to me 50% of the season that he's played so far, he's been 8 out of 10. Yeah. Then I'd be like, he needs to do better in the cup final. But I haven't seen that 50% even in the season of the games that he's played where he's been consistent 8 out of 10. So I'm kind of like, I get what you're saying, he's the star boy, but bear in mind, he ain't been there before. Yeah. Like, if we're looking at that starting 11, if we're looking at that starting 11 of Arsenal players.
A lot of them is their first time. It's their first final.
I'm sure, shoot me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's probably Kepa that's been in cup finals the most, and he's the one that's making mistakes.
But this is the thing, like, it's easy. Now we're saying this now, but going into this final, that was the narrative. They're the favourites. They're in form. Man City are out of form. They should expect it to win. I've heard even conversations about Pep Guardiola. He's having to chase football now. Football's leaving him. He's doing catch up now.
I've never seen Pep celebrate like that on the touchline. It meant a lot today.
Because today it was. I think also for him, I think it was more personal of, people are writing me off. I need to show that, I haven't lost my touch and I can still win trophies. I think it's that, obviously, the whole Champions League result. But then also on top of that, I do believe he thinks this kicks on their season. I think he just gives them a fighting chance now for the league, going to the Etihad. He knows what this does psychologically for both teams. I feel like you see it. And I think people undermine the psychology in sports, not just football, but in sports in general. These little things, they change the tide. And now Man City are going to go to Etihad and they're going to fancy themselves because we just beat you last month. Not even last month, 2-3 weeks ago. Do you know what I mean? In a final. Also, it might even spur them to go on a little run of form. Now they don't have the Champions League game midweek, so they got more rest now in between games. These little things, they make a difference. I'm not saying that. I still think Arsenal got one hand on the trophy. It's still Arsenal's to lose, but it's not over till it's over. We've seen Man United lose from 8 points, 8 points with 4 games to go. We've seen Liverpool do the same back in 2014. The league's never over until you literally lifted that trophy. And I feel like Arsenal fans, they're too quick to, sort of, I don't know if they're trying to, almost like live in a bubble in themselves and they want to sort of distract themselves and keep themselves in that bubble to say, okay, we're going to be champions and no one could do anything about it. But it doesn't work like that. Things happen, and until you get over that line, you can't be certain. We've seen the craziest thing happen in football. So, but Nico Riley quickly, 2 goals, turns up.
I respect it. Yeah, I respect it. I think, and I think his second goal just kind of summed up what I thought of Arsenal in the game, that City were able to play through them quite comfortably. Bernardo Silva, who, by the way, that guy should have been booked in like the 10th minute. I don't know what, I'm shocked. But sometimes I'm not shocked that last week was his first ever red card in his career, because that guy should have been sent off so many times in his career.
He's very good at, he gets a lot of yellows. But
the hatred that people have for Bruno when it comes to the ref, that's how I feel about Bernardo Silva. And I feel like more people should feel about...
I think Bruno said it himself one time. He's like, bro, you guys get mad at me. Have you not seen my national teammate, Bernardo? He's worse.
He's actually the worst. But just that second goal for Nico O'Reilly, I think the build-up is so good that I think that summed up Arsenal, you know, being a goal down, just suddenly just losing the flow of what they were doing, because 10 or so minutes before that, they were quite comfortably getting City to just shift from left to right with the ball. They were unable to get in the box, and suddenly Bernardo Silva got the ball. Mateus Nunes come with the overlap, and Bukayo Saka is not paying attention to what's happening behind him. He doesn't see Nico O'Reilly come running in behind. I think Nico O'Reilly just does that he did that very well today in terms of finding the space in the box, which maybe Arsenal didn't do as well on the other side.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I also think Eze not being there made a difference. I think Eze, in recent games where, you know, was kind of, you know, making them tick a lot more. I think they missed that sort of, you could say a bit of a maverick in that midfield, where that's somebody that can, you know, drive with the ball, make something happen. I didn't think they had that today. Obviously, Havertz started in that position. And I mean, Havertz is a tricky one, because I don't think he's a striker. I don't think his best position is in that 8th role that they deploy him. That early chance there, I thought he was lackadaisical. I think he's just to kind of give like both energy. I know Trafford did well to kind of come at him quite fast.
It was like 3 chances in a row that you got to get one of them.
And
I
think, like I said to you earlier, I think it's a different game if one of those early chances go in. But I mean, look, it's the same story. Well, I mean, the same story packaged differently. You know, it just looks a bit better. You know, they went from middle shelf to top shelf, or top shelf to middle shelf. I think it's the other way around. Middle shelf is the one that you tend to grab in it. So they've gone from top shelf to middle shelf, but it's still the same product.
The hatred you have for Arsenal, man, is crazy.
It's not hatred. It is. You know what it is? Yeah?
I saw you outside, and the first thing you said to me is, "I'm so glad Arsenal lost."
I'm so glad.
But straight away, you didn't even say, "Hey, salam alaikum, how are you? You good?" Straight away, it's like, "I'm so glad Arsenal lost."
Because you know what it is. I knew. I was so confident about today happening the way it happened. I knew it was going to happen this way. I just feel like...
I think a lot of fans anticipated Man City to win. I said maybe Arsenal fans didn't, but I think every other fan base kind of expected Man City to win. Just
I can't lie, I've been watching a lot of previews this week.
Well, a lot of people saying Arsenal. Most people I've seen were saying they expect Man City to win. They expect Pep to see it through. I think
people just thought, because of the form that Man City are in, they're not the same Man City of old, and, you know, question marks about whether Guardiola is falling off. And I've seen so many previews this week, even on Sky. I've seen it on different sports channels. It's a lot of people favourite Arsenal. I think only the Man City fans or people that hate Arsenal would have backed Man City. But I think the neutrals, a lot of people favoured Arsenal, and understandably so. They were the team in form, you know. But we've seen cup finals. It matters about who turns up today. We won a cup final against a Man City team when we were in that Ten Hag season where we were.
But how did we beat them? In transition.
Transition. No,
literally transition ball.
Yeah. Well, we have those qualities. I feel like Arsenal this season have struggled with that. I genuinely believe they struggled with that, and I think they struggle with open play. I think when a team comes at them like we did at the Emirates, they struggle with that. If a team's brave and say, you know what, we don't care if we're 1-0 down, we're gonna just keep coming at you. We don't care, you know, if we're, you know, 1-0 up already, we're not going to sit back, we're going to still keep coming at you. I think it's a different ballgame, and I think Arsenal so far this season, every time that's happened, like Villa Park, you know, you got Liverpool when they went to Emirates as well, all the teams that said, we don't care, we're just going to come at you today, they've struggled against, you know. That's and I don't think that's a coincidence. Do
you think Arsenal need a creative player?
I think they have it.
I think they got Eze.
I think they got Eze. I think Odegaard is just not brave enough, in my opinion. I think he's not brave. He's not a brave. You said it yourself. He's a fully. Like, he's not brave enough. For those that don't know, fully basically means that scaredy cat in my language. But that's essentially what he is.
I think when I look at Arsenal, like today, for example, right, you're looking at City. They got Ryan Cherki, who, by the way, the punditry on Sky actually got on my nerves, because they would call it saying he's showboating.
Yeah.
But don't you want that? Don't you want that? Like, maybe as a neutral, I like to see that kind of stuff. Because if roles were reversed and I'm seeing Martinelli do that, I'll be like, okay, I respect it. Like, I rate it. You're showboating and that kind of. But they were calling him. I think they were saying is poor sportsmanship. I don't think that's. I don't think that's poor sportsmanship. But they got that creativity. Then they got, you know, Man City got. He's a different creative to Doku. Doku doesn't have that final product, but he can be a nuisance on the ball to your fullback. And then you got Semenyo, who can run in behind, but also can kind of drop off of his fullback and get involved in the build-up. You got Bernardo Silva, who can keep the ball ticking. I think what makes a big difference as well is people like Kusanov and Nathan Ake, that, you know, Kusanov's, I think his heat map was like the centre circle.
Yeah.
Because he was so advanced, getting the ball forward and Mateus Nunes, etc. And I just look on the flip side and I look at Arsenal and I think maybe every player there is kind of profiled to that specific position that they play because, you know, Bukayo Saka, 15 passes in the game. 15 passes in a cup final is... I think that's horrific.
Yeah,
I actually think for an attacking player...
It's ridiculous.
Where in the first half or first 30 minutes, I think Arsenal had quite a lot of the ball, even though they ended the game, I think, with like 38% possession. Yeah. But I just think 12 out of 15 passes in a cup final is horrendous. I expect that from...
That's low-key criminal. Well, we'll be really honest.
But I don't want to single him out because I think like just collectively the attack was not that great.
And then defense, look, we look at Man City's defense. They lost Ruben Diaz, you know, today. And that's a makeshift backline. That's the first time that backline has played for City this season. You got Nico O'Reilly, Kusanov, Ake, and Nunes.
You got Mark Gahey missing as well.
Let's be honest, that is a makeshift backline. You compare it to Arsenal's backline, who you could say, obviously, that's their depth. They got Ben White, who they would say starts for most teams in the Premier League. You got Nketiah, who apparently, you know, also can play for a lot of teams in the league. You got Gabriel Saliba there. That is still a much stronger defense than what City. I'm sure a lot of Arsenal fans saw that City backline and started licking their lips because they thought, okay, we're gonna have a field day today.
But you know where City won the game? Yeah. I think City won the game in midfield, and Rodri. I think that's why I said that Pep probably. I think he kind of baited Arteta a little bit because, you know, City this season have been playing 4-1-4-1 essentially.
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva sat essentially with Rodri. He was playing as an 8, double pivot in comparison to maybe Rodri covering that whole midfield area. And I think that just nullified anything Arsenal wanted to do with their midfield. I always think football is 90 minutes, but also it's a battle of midfield most of the time. If you win the midfield battle, you'll probably win the game. Yeah. And I think City did exactly that because you win the ball, you keep recycling possession, get the ball forward, and if you need to, slow the game down. When Arsenal had possession in the first half, I think maybe where they failed for me in the first half was they struggled to dictate the tempo of the game, and I think that's what a lot of teams need to do against City, because I think in the past maybe we've given City a lot of respect. This season you're seeing it with Arsenal. A lot of people give Arsenal respect, but when we've played both teams, we dictate the tempo. Go at them, dictate. You'd rather dictate the tempo of the game rather than letting them set the tone. And I think Arsenal just gave City that respect that City haven't deserved over the course of the last 18 or so months. They lost the cup final to Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace at that time was a good team, but Crystal Palace figured out a way to beat them. A bit of Eze magic as well, but they figured out a way to beat them in the cup final. And I just think, I criticise, like a bit of criticism lands on the players, but for me, all of it lands on the door of the manager. Because I just think it was a cowardly approach.
I think yes, manager should take accountability because I think tactically he got it wrong today. I think it just didn't work, and I don't think he reacted quick enough either. I think he waited too late, 81 minutes to bring on Gabriel Jesus, and it's just not, you should have done that 20 minutes ago, my brother. It was crying up for that way earlier in the game. So he takes accountability, but also we're talking about players that everyone's saying Arsenal fans are telling us are some of the best players on the planet. We expect these players...
Over the course of the season, some of them have been. That's the thing, you can't argue that. You can't single out a cup final. I won't argue it,
but my thing is this. These are the moments you want those players to turn up. And let's be honest with you, I feel like you can get away with 3-4 players, maybe max, not turning up because then the other players can pick up the slack, even the ones off the bench. But when your entire team... You can't tell me right now one player from Arsenal that you could say, he could be proud. He could be proud of himself. Maybe Zubimendi. Maybe
this might be crazy, but the fact that they conceded 2 goals, but I think Saliba and Gabriel can hold their heads up.
Yeah, because
I think they did a good job containing Haaland, and both goals that they conceded, I don't think it's their fault. I don't think it's their fault. They're covering their man. They're doing their job, and I just think that the rest of the team let them down. So I think them two can hold their heads up.
Maybe you could say it's Gabriel Saliba, but ultimately, again, you're looking at those players to get the other ones at least to wake up and say what the hell's going on. You're talking about a team that are meant to be challenging on all fronts. Now I'm going to ask you the question: how many trophies do you think they win now? Because I think maybe the Premier League you can give that to them. Outside of that,
I think the Premier League. I think the FA Cup might. I think they might get to the final. I think they could get semis.
Is the question.
If they win it, I think that's a different conversation. City are still in it. Right?
City are in it. Liverpool are in it. Chelsea
I wouldn't be surprised if it's an Arsenal City. They could
play in the semi-final as well.
They could play in the. I wouldn't be surprised. I can imagine. I would say for me, I think Arsenal win the Premier League. I think they.
That's the only one.
That's the one that I can say that they've got one hand on it. It's theirs to lose. I think the Champions League, there's better teams attacking wise, and just as a collective, I think there's better teams. But there's nothing to say that they couldn't go to the final in the Champions League. Yeah. And then lose.
Yeah, but this is.
And I think a lot of rival fans, I think, would rather see that.
I mean, if I think I don't see Arsenal winning the Champions League. I see them get to the final, like you said.
I don't see them getting
maybe to the final.
I see them getting semis. I see them getting to the semis of the Champions League just because Atletico or Barca.
Yeah, I mean,
who's to say they get past Sporting? Who's to even say they get that? That's a hypothetical. But the next hurdle after that, I look at that and think, I fancy Barcelona against Arsenal. I fancy Atletico against Arsenal. But then again, in a 2-stage like knockout system, who's to say they don't scumbag a away result and bring it back to the Emirates and win and get to the final? Like, it's possible.
But the expectation when the draw was made is also get to the final.
They got the easiest route compared to everybody else. Like them and Sporting got the easier routes.
So I mean, it'll be interesting to see where they finish. I think this title is in their hands, but I don't think it's over yet. I think this game does a lot psychologically as well. I think that game at the Etihad is gonna, if this is City's kick, then I think we're in for till the end. I said it earlier as well on SDS as well. I said it's going to be like a tennis match. But there'll be moments where you're going to feel like City have come back. There'll be moments where you're going to feel like Arsenal have won the league, and it's going to keep being like that. I think right until mathematically it's impossible.
Just a quick question though on that game at the Etihad. Do you think that Arsenal can go to the Etihad and celebrate a draw? But I think they have to win. I'm telling you now, like to shut up shop. I think they have to win and finish the league on that day.
I'm telling you now. Remember my words. They're gonna go to the Etihad and they're gonna absolutely park off the bus. I'm telling you that now. They're gonna play for the 0-0. I'm telling you, it's gonna be the most ugliest game of football you're gonna watch this season. I'm telling you that now. And you watch. They're gonna go to the Etihad and they're gonna try to play for that point because they know that point is safe and they can walk away with a point. If they score the early goal, they'll be happy and they'll just sit off for the rest of the game. That's it.
Maybe my expectations are high from a team contending for the title.
That go out and play teams. They're not going to go to the Etihad and risk it. They're not going to do that. And you know, Arteta, pragmatic. You've seen. Don't ignore the patterns you've seen this season. Don't ignore the patterns you've seen.
I'm expecting something different from someone that has shown us what they're capable of doing.
They're showing you what they're capable of. But quickly, just before, obviously, we need to discuss also United's game on Friday. A bit controversial. Like a lifetime ago, it does. 2-2. I was Eid, so I didn't get to really cover it, to be honest with you, but I thought we can talk about it. 2-2, very controversial, a lot of controversial decisions. I'm going to go straight into it. Obviously, with the penalties, what was your thoughts? Obviously, there was a penalty on Ahmad, there was one on went against Maguire, and obviously the one on Cunha, which was definitely a penalty as well. But what's your thoughts?
You know what? I think everyone is focused on the Maguire red card. For the right reasons. And one thing I will say is that the way we saw the game out, I appreciate that. Because it's not always easy to be a man down and essentially just be in two minds of whether do you go for the win or do you just take the point. I'm happy. I'm kind of happy with the point in isolation when you look at the circumstances. But then I think of it and think that should have been a penalty on Ahmad. The more I see it, the more it looks like a clear penalty. The guy dropped and he bounced off the ball.
Yeah. I think because I watched it afterwards, the highlights, and I watched the analysis and everything afterwards, and they were saying that the difference was the fact that Ahmed's one was a goal score. It wasn't a goal scoring opportunity. But I look at it like, if it's a foul, it's a foul. It's a foul.
A foul's a foul.
If I wrestle someone and they're not in a goal scoring position, or if I double, kick somebody in the back. And they're not in a goal scoring position, it's still a foul. For me, it's clear as day. He's prevented him from, at least taking a shot at goal or, making something happen. So for me, I thought it was a penalty. I thought Maguire's one was definitely a penalty as well. I thought all three were penalties, to be fair with you.
Yeah, it was all clear penalties. But the thing is, I also think that I genuinely believe that the ref didn't give that Ahmad penalty just because moments before that he gave the Cunha one. Yeah. So 2 back-to-back ones, people will be in an uproar about it.
But it's penalties though.
No, but I think it's also like, I think penalties to an extent are political.
Yeah.
So it would look bad on the ref.
Yeah.
In isolation, where you look at that game and think, oh, he gave 2 penalties in quick succession to Manchester United. That's dodgy. But that's why generally it's like for example, when sometimes a ref will give you a yellow for something that you shouldn't have got a yellow for, and then you do something to get a second yellow, but he's already thinking, I've already just given him a yellow. Let me give him another warning. But sometimes you should be given that second yellow because you shouldn't have given like that first one. So I think the penalty on Cunha, clear penalty. I think he did well. I actually think Cunha at the left wing. over the last couple of games is what I expect from him in left wing. And one player I've really been disappointed with is Ahmad. I've been really disappointed with him this season. I just feel
in
like
terms of the output or in terms of performances?
A bit of both. A bit of both. I just think he hasn't, like, maybe last season our attack was just so ugly to watch that he was like a bright spark. Yeah. And I felt like that was a good layer of foundation to start building off of. Yeah. Coming into this season where, you know, it's not easy for him where United bring in 3 new attackers, but you've kept your spot. Yeah. So clearly the manager fancies you for a reason. Show us why he fancies you. Yeah. And then there's times where he hasn't played, and then when he didn't, when he got dropped randomly by Carrick, and I was thinking, oh, we miss Ahmad. But then when I'm watching him, I'm thinking, this ain't the Ahmad that I was watching last season. Yeah.
What is it for you that you feel like he's missing right now?
I think he's just being too miskeen.
Do you think so?
I think he's being too careful. Like I don't think he's getting at his fullback in the way that we were kind of privileged to see last season. I think is he low on confidence? Is he trying to play it more from like a tactical perspective? Is he trying to be, you know, playing more as a team player and getting his teammates involved? I think when he's on the ball, the best things that I've seen last season, him and the wide channels, getting at your fullback, beating your man, because he can beat his guy. For me, it's not about whether he can or not. I know he can beat his guy, and I know that final product last season was there. This season, that final product is not there. I think he cuts into his left foot a lot this season. He's trying to find the pass. Yeah, just shoot. And then when he came off the bench, when he was benched by Carrick, I can't remember what game it was, and he came off the bench, the guy was shooting from everywhere. Yeah, suddenly he was playing like he had a point to prove.
Yeah. Now I agree. I also feel like every moment this season, there's been moments where Cunha's been going blank for a while, and Bremo's had kind of like Ahmad right now as well. He's not playing at his best right now. Ahmad also, but I feel like every time someone's not firing, someone else is picking up the slack. So right now you got Cunha and Benjamin Sesko picking up the goals. Earlier in the season, it was Ahmad and
it was Brian and Bruno.
Yeah, both of them kind of doing it, or Bruno even. So I feel like what we benefit from now is that we have enough quality in attack, which we didn't have before, where even if one person's misfiring or not playing at their best, somebody else can come up and deliver, which is a good place to be. But I'm with you. I do expect better performances in general, especially even in Bremo as well. I don't think his performances have been great. But what I will say about them two, Ahmad and Bremo, is that even when they're not scoring, they're still a handful for defenders. I don't even know. It's for like defenders feel uneasy whenever Ahmad have the ball. They feel uneasy whenever Mbeumo's stretching them. It's like, yes, they might not be scoring and they might not be firing, but I think people also ignore there's a reason why he likes to play Mbeumo down the middle. It's because defenders don't rest. Yeah. They don't rest.
I think when you play Mbeumo through the middle, as much as he does off the ball, I think you're taking away his on-the-ball qualities. 100%. And it kind of minimises the influence and impact he can have in the game. Because when he plays through the middle, he's kind of encouraged. They do this rotational thing where like... Mbeumo will come to the left, Cunha will come central, like they'll rotate that front three will they will rotate, which I don't mind that, and I genuinely don't mind that. But what I don't kind of like is the fact that Mbeumo's influence in the game, especially like his ability to get in running behind, is nullified. Because you're expecting him to do more off the ball to allow your teammates, his teammates, to get into better
kind of
positions.
Like Cunha earlier in the season as well, when he's playing in that central role.
And maybe Carrick is still trying to figure out the right recipes and see what works. But I genuinely don't believe that there's every game calls for Mbeumo in the 9. I don't think so. I think there's some games that I would like Sesko in the 9, and it's always this toss-up of, do we bench Ahmad? Do we bench Mbeumo? It's good to have options off the bench. Like you saw when Ahmad came off the bench, he had a fire in his stomach a couple of games ago. You saw when Cunha was coming off the bench against Arsenal, he's got a fire in his stomach. You know, they've got a newly lit kind of enthusiasm to impact the game. They want to prove something. So I don't mind that rotation element in the front line. What I will say though, in that Bournemouth game, I think a lot of people are, because of the penalty shout, that's taken away the conversation of the actual 90 minutes. But I think the first 25, 30 minutes was one of Man United's better performances away from home in front of, like, in the final third than I've seen throughout the course of the season. It's just unfortunate that there wasn't anything from kind of open play to take away from that. And also another thing on the other side, I think Lenny Yoro has stepped into that capacity of centre-back, because, again, he's someone that was barely playing under the last manager, playing inconsistently early in the season. And when he had a run of games under Michael Carrick, people were really heavy on the criticism with him because he hadn't really played consistent 90 minutes football. But now I feel like he's growing into that.
He's getting that flow.
We need fullbacks. That's one thing that I took away for 100% from the Bournemouth game. We need fullbacks.
I mean, Shaw's having a great season. I'm not even big.
He can't even get England call-up. He can't even get England call-up.
Yeah, but I still think he has a shout come end of the season. I'm not his biggest fan. I'll be honest. I've had my say on Luke Shaw. I think he's. I don't know. I feel like it's always suspicious that World Cup year you just happen to play every single minute, but then outside of that you don't really turn up.
From what I know, he's changed a lot in his like workout and recovery regime that is heavily influencing and the club have really worked with him to kind of be fit and just play consistently. But I like Luke Shaw.
I think he's having a great season.
But he's had a decent season. What's crazy is that he's had a good season in isolation when you just look at the performances. But when you think about what he's offered for United going forward as a fullback,
it started off in terms of what he used to be able to do because he used to be quite good bombing forward, and now he used to be good. Bro,
the guy had been here for a decade and he averages 2 assists a season.
Yeah, but I think
what are you talking about?
No, but even going forward, I feel like he's always him, Rashford.
Him and Rashford, that overlap.
That's always been a nuisance. But I think maybe it's because he's gotten old. I think he's learning to manage his body a bit better. I think obviously he's been injury prone over the last 2-3 years. So I think maybe he's changed his game to becoming more of a defensive fullback. But I think defensively he's been very reliable, pretty much mostly. I think maybe that game where he got subbed off early, was it Fulham?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only game where I looked at him and he looked very shaky. Outside of that, I can't really pinpoint. And I can
pinpoint some moments where I think teams know how to get at Luke Shaw in terms of the wingers getting at the fullback, right?
Yeah.
What I think he offers is a bit of composure on the ball, which we don't have that because on the other side, on the right hand side, we've got a bit of an erratic, chaotic fullback. I think Dalot is. Don't get me wrong, I like Dalot. Maybe as a person, as a player, I think sometimes maybe
he's one-dimensional.
No, I think maybe he thinks he's better than what he is, what his level is.
Say that. You could say that, yeah.
Because the guy took a shot from about 35 yards out. What possessed you to do that?
But he always finds himself in the best positions. I don't even know.
And I can't. That's why I think he's good in certain parts of his game. But then in that kind of moment where you got the ball 35 yards out, why are you killing the attack?
Yeah. But he has a habit of doing that.
Why are you doing that? But again, it's just decisions. That's why I said Luke Shaw offers composure. If Dalot had some composure in his game, I think people would rate him as a fullback a lot better because on the ball he's decent. Defensively you can talk about how he is dealing with it. Because I remember last season I think it was teams were targeting him at the back post.
Yeah.
This season I think he's a lot more confident in a back four.
I think he's been good since Carrick is right.
I think he's been okay. I think he's been okay.
I think he has a step to like. Comparing to what we, how we used to criticize him, I think he's been more consistent with his performances. I think he's been more reliable. Both fullbacks, I think they've been more reliable, which is hard to say because those are the two fullbacks where we always used to say they're I
think it's the back four, but I think it's the back four that allows them to play because they're more comfortable in that.
Maybe Lemens as well has an effect in that.
Maybe his comfortability, as a goalkeeper, having a confident keeper, trustworthy keeper. But I do think United need fullbacks in the summer, and the Bournemouth game would just kind of prove that.
I like Mazraoui, I can't lie to you. I really do like him.
Mazraoui is a good, he's I call him a steady Eddie.
Yes.
Like he gets the job done. He'll give you a good 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10 every week.
Yeah.
Attacking wise, I mean, he's very limited, but I don't expect that from him. If we had one fullback who's attacking and one who's defensive, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind. I don't expect 2 attacking fullbacks.
Yeah.
But I don't want 2 defensive fullbacks.
Newcastle's fullbacks, basically.
A good balance. It's a very good balance.
Yeah. I know. I'm with you. Obviously, Chelsea and Liverpool. So we got robbed, and obviously
everyone else dropping points.
I feel like they tried to push this. I think they tried to make the top 4 race entertaining because I think maybe they felt that maybe United and kind of running away with it a bit too quick. But they lost. Liverpool and Chelsea lost. Liverpool lost to Brighton 2-1, and obviously Chelsea lost heavily against Everton.
I watched the highlights because I was I went to the UFC, so I didn't see that.
Yes.
But I was watching the Brighton Liverpool game.
Yeah.
And Yeah, Liverpool for me is just a sluggish team to watch. Like for them, like I get the injuries. Ekitike went off injured. I think Slot said he had a dead leg.
Yeah.
And if he could play tomorrow, he could. Like, so I'm like, so why'd you take him off?
It
is what it is. But Cody Gakpo missing chances.
Yeah.
Rio was for me one of the brighter sparks when he came off of the bench. Florian Wirtz, I think. Not enough maybe people are talking about.
Wasn't his greatest performance.
Like I actually don't think people are talking about Florian Wirtz enough.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm someone, guys, who liked Florian Wirtz before he joined Liverpool. I think the way that he's performing in the Premier League, I'm not talking about how he's done in Champions League performances for Liverpool. In the Premier League specifically, how underwhelming he has been for that price tag. Maybe he's struggling with the lack of space and time, and you know how quick and the tempo of the Premier League and how aggressive and physically demanding it is.
That's why he's lacking.
He you know, the passes that he's making. There was one particular moment, I can't remember. I think it was Chiesa was on the right, and Gakpo was in the middle, and they were just on the edge of the box of Brighton. And it was the most underweighted pass that I've ever... Like, it didn't even threaten Brighton. Straight interception. The one person we have to talk about is Danny Welbeck. Would you take him to the World Cup?
Oh, it's crazy. I had this conversation with Ruby the other day. We was talking about it. I said I would entertain the idea, 100%. I think he offers something that we don't have with English strikers. I think there's it's just Harry Kane, and then outside of that, I feel like it's open for. Obviously, Ollie Watkins, you could say, is probably the second best of the bunch.
Yeah.
But he's been off form this season. Calvert-Lewin stepped up this season, but again, he's only on the aerial. He's more of an aerial threat. Outside of that, he misses a lot of chances. Welbeck, injury prone, but you know he's probably, you could say, the most all-rounded out of the bunch. Honestly, it's up for grabs. I would entertain that. I can't lie to you. If he carried his on the way he's been playing all season, his problem is fitness. Yeah. Because he will come and play 3-4 games, score goals, and then disappear for another 10.
But he's not a bad person to have, I think, in the England camp. One thing I would say is obviously the quality of the goals that he scores. He's quite like a well-rounded striker. Yeah. And even like you mentioned, like Calvert-Lewin being quite minimal in his impact outside of aerial threats. I feel like with Welbeck, he can, if he drops off of the back line a lot, like you got a number of England players that could run in behind. I don't know why people are not giving Ivan Toney the respect that he should. Like it's Saudi league tax.
That's what it is. But
he should be.
He's a weapon as well, to be fair.
I was going to say about Danny Welbeck is that if he would have had a chance with the England squad, he would have got a call up right now. It would have happened. And against Liverpool, the guy Kanate was just. Kanate was struggling. Yankuba Minte had Frimpong cooked from as the game. The best moments that I saw from the fullbacks is probably when Robertson came on for Liverpool.
Yes.
Kirkes and Frimpong, for me, have not been as good as I maybe expected them to be this season. And Brighton is a funny thing because this season, I loved Brighton under De Zerbi. But this season, I don't think they've been as amazing as they were, but they still find themselves fighting for a European spot.
That's just always Brighton for some reason. I always feel like I don't really pay too much attention to them on the table. And then, you know, at one point I'm thinking they're struggling. And then I look at the table, I'm like, whoa, they're actually a lot higher.
And then they got the likes of... They're sending Matoma on. They're sending Carlos Baleba on. Carlos Baleba against tired legs like McAllister.
That's it. It's done after that.
It's a wrap.
Yeah. No, I mean... Brighton did well. I think they deserved it. I think they're pushing for Europe. I think they're in a good place. Liverpool, I still expect them, and it comes into the conversation about who you think will finish the top 5. I still expect Liverpool come end of the season to be in the Champions League spot. I see Aston Villa maybe falling off. I don't think Chelsea are considered. Yeah, I think Aston Villa.
I was going to say Liverpool maybe. I think Liverpool 5th.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they get into that 5th, like they're comfortable in that 5th spot. I think maybe Villa are gaining momentum. I'm not gonna lie, I was hoping West Ham would win.
Yeah.
Not because of Villa, but because I want to see Spurs.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I was hoping West Ham would get a result against them. But I think it's between Villa and Liverpool. I think Chelsea. I don't. Right now I think it's at a level of toxicity that I have not seen
in
at Chelsea. Not just in the fan base, like just even in like the football that they're playing. And Liam Risner, I think he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But being a nice guy don't always get the job done. It doesn't.
Mean, I think Chelsea fans right now they're having a civil war because
it's chaotic.
It's chaotic within the fan base. I've seen two sides going at each other. One, you know, against Blueco, the other with Blueco, and there's this whole dilemma of, you know, trust the project. No, we're not. We're against the project. But I think the person that's suffering the most out of that is Liam Rosenier, because I think he's obviously being the manager and coming in after sacking Enzo Maresca. He's almost been made like the poster child of Clear Lake, you know. Yeah. So whatever frustrations Chelsea fans have with Clear Lake, I feel like they're directing it towards him. Because I feel like I look at his actual record, there are things definitely criticised. I think based on credential, yes, it's fair to say that he shouldn't have got the Chelsea job in the first place. Mm-hmm. But when you actually look on paper, he's lost 6 times since he's arrived. Yeah. 5 of them are coming against either Arsenal and PSG, with the other one being Everton, obviously, the other day. So he hasn't lost to... He's not losing to different teams week in, week out.
I think it's also the decisions and the way that they're playing in the game, in-game management that fans are critical of. And you're right in a way that I think the criticisms for the owners is landing at the door of the manager, just because, you know, they've brought him in. And I think it's also tough. I think it'd be tough for any manager to come in and replace Enzo Maresca, because I think the fans liked Enzo Maresca to an extent. He's helped them win stuff. Yeah. But also I think the players, I think people maybe underestimate how big of an influence players liking the manager and getting on with them and having respect for them. Yeah. I think that is a big thing with... So I think Liam Rosenier was... I think to an extent, he's set up to fail at Chelsea. Yeah. Whatever he does with the players and maybe the fans, you've got Enzo coming out after the game, the Champions League game, and he's doing an interview with Argentinian media talking about the previous manager and how good he was and what he used to do tactically and blah. I think that's a bad look.
I think when you start to see that, that's a big red flag. I'm telling you that when you start to see players coming out speaking to different media stations talking about, you know, things like that, that's always a red flag, and I always feel like that's the beginning of
something. And him talking about his future, you can't come out after a Champions League walloping talking about your future at the club. You should have said, this is not the time for this conversation. We've got things to focus on. Whether or not you think that, you know, you're out of the Champions League, we got a European race in the Premier League to focus on. Enzo, for me, Fernandes should have just dismissed that conversation. But even when I watch Chelsea, even the highlights that I watched from the Everton game, but also the Champions League games and you know the games before that, I look at them and I think, similar to Arsenal's attack, I look at Chelsea and I think, where did your money go? Yeah, all the money you spent on your attack. Where the only person I rate in that front line outside of Cole Palmer is João Pedro. João Pedro is the only one.
It's crazy because all they've done really is, you know, replace squad players with squad players. Yeah, I like
Esteval. I think Esteval's a good talent.
But that's again for the future. That's a project.
Yeah, he's a project. Yeah. And I think Chelsea right now, I would go as far to say they can't afford to have too many project players in their team. They need right now players.
And I think that's where the frustration is.
They don't have that.
Yeah, I think that's where the frustration is, because I think this summer, I feel like after winning that Club World Cup, a lot of Chelsea fans probably felt like this is the summer where we can now bring in players, star quality, or world-class players that are difference makers that will push us to become challengers. I think they look at Arsenal and they probably feel a bit of that. They probably feel frustrated because they feel like they had enough to sort of
bring those caliber of players
to then compete, you know, and they find themselves in this place.
You look at the attack that they brought in, they brought in João Pedro, and I think he's a good player. I think in isolation he's been one of Chelsea's better players over the last couple of months in the Premier League. But then you look at the rest of it and you think, okay, Liam Delap, I like Liam Delap, but I think Liam Delap is an Everton-ish kind of player. You know, like a mid-table team, get your 10, 12 goals in the league and just keep it moving.
You could also argue he's a project striker as well.
But that's what I'm saying. They got Garnacho. Thank you guys, by the way, Chelsea.
No, we had to get one back.
No, thank you for taking him off our hands.
We had to
we had to get a lick back. But even then, even like Champions League game, I remember, I'm thinking there's nothing in it for you guys. I'm watching Garnacho. In his mind, he's probably thinking, this is a stat pad opportunity for me. Let me just get a goal and walk away with my GA. But again, he's not someone that they should have signed in the summer, I think.
But even Pedro Neto, you can argue who's experienced, and you look at him and you think, Chelsea was the right step. You know, that level of club was the right step for him. He's also, yes, his performances sometimes are great, but again, you expect more from his output. He's not scoring enough goals. I just look at Chelsea wingers and I just don't see goals. I don't see assists. I don't see goals. I
think that's having an impact on Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
I think Cole Palmer needs a player in his team that can carry the burden in the attack with him.
Yeah.
I think I've never rated Enzo personally. Yeah. I never thought he was worth that price tag. But I think he's had games in a Chelsea shirt that I think, okay, you can be a good player. But when you're talking about attacking wise, I think Enzo also as well, even though he's the captain, when I watch him, sometimes I feel like criticism that I think should land at him, he's looking to point the finger somewhere else. It's a lack of accountability for
me.
I
think he's been one of Chelsea's better players. I think
this season he has
stepped up. I feel like, and that's like you said, 100 million. I don't think he will ever justify.
No, but they're saying that Chelsea, with the conversation about his future stemmed from the media earlier last week, because they were saying that Chelsea would be interested in selling him only if the price tag is more than what Liverpool paid for Florian Wirtz. But in my head, I'm thinking just because you overpaid, there is no way Real Madrid are going to pay that price.
Ridiculous.
There is absolute, and you look at everywhere else in Europe.
Yeah.
Who could do with a player like Enzo in their team?
No one. I don't even see Real Madrid because they got Jude. Why would they want it?
It's why would they want it?
Why would they want Enzo? I mean, Enzo's having a great season, but I think he's good at where he's at. I don't think I can see him at any other top. I don't see him at Barcelona. He does not fit the style of Barcelona. Real Madrid. Bayern Munich, even he can't start there. You got Musiala, so he doesn't start. PSG, I don't see he's not a good fit for that either. So his options are limited in my opinion. I think he's better off just staying in the league, or
I think it's just paper talk about his future, his World Cup talk, World Cup, all of that kind of stuff. It's just
maybe put pressure to get rid of the manager as well. It's even he might be on a thing of, listen, I'm only staying here, but I don't trust this manager.
Well, I respect the fact that the Chelsea fans are like mobilising the fan bases, because I see Strasbourg and all of them, they're meeting up to do a big protest against the owners of not just Chelsea but also Strasbourg, because they're using the Strasbourg FC as a kind of a nesting place for we're going to take your, like, it doesn't matter how well you do in the French league and how well you do in Europe, you guys are a feeder club. And I'm glad that the fans are not okay with that, because I think multi-club ownership, this is an example of it. People focused on what's that Spanish team and Man City, or they're all Girona. Yeah. People focused on that so much, and the Red Bull model and all of that stuff, but they don't look at the negatives of multi-club ownership. And Chelsea are showing you exactly where the negatives come, because you're talking about Club World Cup last year. That was a perfect time to build off of that. Beating PSG, even though they played 1,000 games, is still a big deal in that season. It's still a big deal. But you're telling me that the best you could offer in that front line, no disrespect to João Pedro, because I said he's a good player, is João Pedro and Liam Delap. If Abramovich was here, he would have went and snatched Osimhen. It wouldn't have even been a conversation. And that's why I think the owners, they deserve, rightly so, the criticism. And it's good to see the fans of, like, I'm seeing the Chelsea fan base. It's going
They're
off.
in disarray.
It's going off. They don't know who to blame at this point. And it's suddenly like...
It reminds of kind of like us as well, a little bit. I see similarity in the sense that I think United and Chelsea are teams that are, you could argue that are 1 or 2 transfer windows away from being a competitive club. But both sets of fans don't trust their ownership. And I think it's the same with us. We feel like we're always 1 or 2 windows away, but then we don't trust our ownership. And I think it's the same with Chelsea. There's a lot of them that they don't trust the ownership to make the right decisions. I would say
it's crazy to say, because I'm not the biggest of fans of... I don't like the Glazers, not fond of Ineos. But I think that what Ineos have done in the transfer windows, to an extent, has been higher, the expectations compared to the expectations. Like, we've expected poor signings from them just because of the owners, and they've been going down that data metric led kind of recruitment, similar to Brighton, similar to Chelsea. Whereas I think Chelsea's transfer strategy is clear as day. Every single transfer window, we're going to sign young talents. We're going to sign a 15-year-old from flipping Brazil and a 15-year-old from Uruguay and all these. And
we're going to buy hype as well.
And we're going to buy because they had no. Honestly speaking, again. Thank you guys for buying Garnacho, but they had no business buying Gittins and Garnacho in the same window. They had no. You're telling me you dropped 100 million on 2 wingers, and there was maybe better wingers that you could have gone for.
They sold, who is it? Madueke, and they sold Madueke
for 50 is.
Who else did they get rid of? Sancho left, and then who else? I mean, you look at, even just take them two for example. There's no real much gap or difference when you look at from Madueke to Garnacho, or Madueke to get in.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The aspiration, it's not there in their transfer window. You're expecting after the Club World Cup to go out and buy top quality players.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Ademola Lookman going to Atletico in January, a team like Chelsea should have been all over that in the summer. He went for 30 million euros.
Yeah.
You got no business signing Garnacho.
Even in January,
in January. Like if they were, and I don't know whether he wanted to specifically join the Spanish league or whatever. But that's a bargain. In 28 years, stop signing young players and go and sign an experienced professional that is going to give you goals, give you attacking threat, that is better than all the stuff that you can buy.
In their prime. That's what they need.
This obsession with the potential is poor. And when I had criticisms of Ineos, I was worried because you saw that first summer transfer window where, they brought in Xerxes, they brought in Mazraoui, De Ligt, but then they were also like quite heavy on bringing in the likes of Diego Leon and Sekou Kone and Chido Obi and the other kid from Crystal Palace with the braids. I was thinking, are we going to buy these young products from other academies and like kind of prop them up to be first team players? Yeah. But they didn't. They didn't do that. And I'm kind of glad that that's not the case. If you want to buy young talents, I see no kind of fault in that. But I think you have to find the right balance of...
Yeah, there needs to be a clear pathway for them.
A clear pathway. Because now... I'm seeing... I was watching Saturday Social the other day, and I think Matisse was doing a bio, stay and go. And they said that, they said something funny like, we can't even do the entire first team squad because there's too many people. And then I'm hearing names that, wallahi, I've never heard in my life. I'm thinking, who's that person? Sometimes I used to find myself when Chelsea are playing, they're sending on a player. I'm thinking... Who's that guy? Who's that? I ain't never seen him before.
Do you know what it is? I feel like they treat the club like crypto. Like they just buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell.
But I'm glad the fans are not happy with it. Like it's actually I don't know. I don't want to say it's disrespectful, but I think it is disrespectful to the Premier League. Yeah. What Chelsea, like as a rival fan, I'm all for it. Yeah. It weakens, our opponents. But as a football fan, I'm thinking, this is not the Chelsea I know. I remember the days when Arsenal, Chelsea, United, head-to-head in the Premier League, biggest rivalries, Mourinho, it don't feel like that.
Chelsea.
It don't feel like Chelsea.
You don't feel like Chelsea football. It feels something brand new, something... I can't explain it. It's just, someone said it, someone tweeted the other day, the soul of Chelsea died in August 2021, and I believe that. I think once, Abramovich left, I think that club became...
No, because that guy was going to win by any means
necessary, but that's what you want. You want owners that care, owners that understand what's needed and do what's needed, rather than the owners that are just financially benefiting off the club and just looking at profits and looking at how can we benefit economically rather than on the pitch.
But when I watched the PSG versus Chelsea first leg, I remember saying to myself, I said it in my reaction video, I said, I can't, like every match day when I watch Chelsea, all I say to myself is, I can't believe they spent £1 billion plus.
They spent more than PSG.
It's so hard to believe. They
spent more than PSG on their squad.
And I don't know where that went. I'm seeing, again, I like Liam Delap last season. But again, project striker. Yeah. I don't think he's someone that you should be throwing on. He's not someone you should be relying on. Just about hit double digits last season in his only experience in playing in the Premier League. You're putting a lot of burden on his shoulder. You're seeing João Pedro's frustrations on the field. You're seeing Cole Palmer looking detached. And if so much went through Cole Palmer in his first year and a half, 2 years at Chelsea, is that when he needs, I think he needs a Batman to his Robin kind of thing. 100%, and you're not giving him that. You're not giving him that. I feel
like I haven't seen enough of João Pedro and Cole Palmer together this season. I feel like there hasn't been enough of that. Because I feel like when I saw them in that Club World Cup final, I thought, this could be the start of something.
100%.
But we haven't even seen enough of that. So, I don't know. It's tough. Chelsea, I feel like they got a lot of... It's so crazy to say, after the amount of money spent, still have a lot of work to do to get this squad competitive. It's getting rid of players, bringing players in.
I think they should have stuck out with Enzo Maresca. I think they should have, if they stuck out for the season with Maresca, I genuinely think they might have been in a better position than they were right now. I still think they would have
been capped. I think they still would have been.
I think it would have been capped, but I'm saying that it wouldn't be as bad as the environment
for sure. Maybe you go
now.
further in the Champions League. Maybe they might have even had a better chance of beating PSG in the Champions League, but because he's a very good cup manager. But it's tough, man. I think Chelsea. It's their club is just as confusing right now as their fan base. To be honest with you, it's just a mess.
It's chaos.
Listen, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you. We're not even going to talk about Spurs. Just
that one there, just put it in the bag. Listen, we know next week, it's West Ham's are home to Leeds.
Yeah. Well, after the international break.
Oh, after the international break, actually. But Spurs go to Sunderland at the Stadium of Light.
That's going to be so...
I genuinely believe that's the game week. You're going to see Spurs in the drop.
they're a point off right now.
They're a point
off, and I actually, it's crazy to say this, but I fancy Nuno in a relegation scrap
100%.
to the end of the season than I do this.
But I don't even think Igor Tito's going to be here by the next game.
He should be gone by tomorrow.
Yeah, he will be. He should be. 9 a.m.
The fact that they won in the calendar year is crazy. I can't believe that.
That's insane. The only game win is coming at Champions League in a game that didn't matter anyway.
It's crazy. Yeah, listen. It's crazy.
But thank you, Mina, for jumping on.
Always a pleasure, man.
Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Mina Football on all socials, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, that kind of stuff.
I appreciate you jumping on. And listen, guys, obviously let us know your comments. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things you may disagree or agree with what I said, especially in that first segment in the Carabao Cup final,
100%.
or just anything in general on your thoughts on the game week, top 4 race, title race, Carabao Cup final, whatever it is. Let us know in the comments. And until next time, peace.